Of our presentation is about Unit 13, Learner's Characteristics. What are learner's characteristics? They include the following factors: motivation, learning style, learning strategies, maturity, and past language learning experience. How the learners are influenced by learning a language? They include the following factors, and they are influenced about how they learn, how they respond to different styles and strategies, and how they succeed learning the language. The learning styles are ways in which learners prefer to take in, process, and remember information and skills. Here are some of the learning styles we have. First, we have visual, in which learners take the language watching or looking. The next one is auditory, in which the learners take the language through listening and hearing. Kinesthetic, being physical, doing movements and touching things. This one is group, in which students work with others and interact with their groups. Individual, they like to work alone and they work better. The reflective style, when learners have time to consider their choices and time to think about their reflection. The analytic is when they have the opportunity to analyze a question and then respond. And the last one is autonomous, which the learner decides when and how to learn. Now we have the learning strategies. As you know, learning strategies are the ways that learners choose and use to learn the language. Every learner has the decision to find a way how they want to learn the language. The learning strategies include ways to help themselves identify what they need to learn, the process, what they need to remember, and how they have to use the new language. As examples of learning strategies, we have repeating words. As you know, every time we learn a new word, we have to repeat it in order to get the word in our minds. The next is experimenting and taking risks. For example, asking questions in class without being afraid to the teacher. Asking for feedback, also ask for the teacher to give you feedback about anything you have done. Use the foreign language as much as possible. Here in classes, we have to motivate students to use the language they are learning. Then we have recording yourself when speaking. This is a good strategy where you can improve your speaking ability. Asking for repetition if you don't understand something, some rules or a word, you can ask for repetition to the teacher. Choosing vocabulary, this is your decision. You have to choose the vocabulary you need to improve and you need to learn. Think how to memorize. Sometimes we have rules that we have to really memorize, so this is a good strategy. Write every new word. This is also a strategy you can use. Take notes about everything the teacher says, or a new word that you don't understand, so you can go home and search that word. And paraphrasing, as you know, is the ability to say other people's words in your own words.
Okay. I'm going to continue with explanation about maturity. So, what is involved? The maturity involves a process in which people they are going to develop, they are going to grow up, and they are going to develop different skills according with the age. Okay. So, maturity involves becoming grow up physically, mentally, and emotionally. That is the most important fact that you have to take into consideration. So, I am going to explain. About children, teenagers, and adults, what is the difference in the process of maturity that they have. For example, we have in children, as we know, children need or have the necessity to move almost all the time. to go. Thank you. Um, Teenagers, you can. It says that keep still for longer periods. You still need to move. So you can control them, not in a complete way, but you can do it with some activities and so on. So, for example, adults, they are able to keep still for longer. It means that they can be sitting, listening the class or the thing that you are explaining to them for a long period of time. What else? About it says the children can concentrate for short periods. So that is very important because, as we know, children they are kind of, in some cases, hyperactive. You need to develop a lot of activities in order to let them learn in a very interactive way. About teenagers, the concentration developing. So it means that it is a period in which they, if for example your classes are very interesting, they got involved in that and they can continue with the learning process. And what about others? They can concentrate for longer periods. So because they have developed the majority of cognitive skills, they can be concentrated in one thing that you are teaching to them for long periods of time. So what else? Children, it says that they learn through experience or doing. So that is very important in children. They almost follow your examples, but it's better for them if you teach how to create it. What about teenagers? It says that begin to learn in abstract ways on thinking experience. So they are going to share the proper or their own experiences through the life that they have. And finally, adults can learn in an abstract way, which means like they can understand or they can use their own opinions to do something. Not able to control and plan their behavior. That is about children. So as teachers, we have the necessity to have an extra plan in order to control something about the class. About teenagers, beginning to control their plan and behavior is kind of similar, but in that case we have the opportunity to be to have another kind of activities in order to control them. And finally, adults says that they are usually able to control their plan and their behavior. So it means that, for example, at the beginning of a class or a period, we are going to say to them the guidelines or the things that we expect for them, and so they are going to follow these guidelines or instructions for the rest of the period of study. In children says, not afraid of making mistakes or taking risks. So because they don't know what is going to happen, they usually take some risks. It doesn't matter what is going, as I say, what is going to happen, but about teenagers, they worry about what others think of them. That is very important because some teenagers, or the majority of them, they used to think what the rest of the others, maybe the classmates or teachers, they think about the actions that they are planned to do or they are going to do. About adults, it says may not be so willing to make mistakes or take risks. So that is very important, as I mentioned in the previous examples. I can say that adults, they have their own way to think, their own way to make decisions. So, okay. Some facts about children, teenagers, and adults. It says that, for example, in children, they are not aware of themselves or their actions. That is kind of similar about the previous fact. In teenagers, they are uncomfortably aware of themselves and their actions. And finally, adults, you have that they are aware of themselves and their actions. So as you can see here, I have some examples of differences in the process of learning and in the process that they are growing up and developing their maturity. So
okay, to continue with the explanation, we have the past language experiences that learners have. They may be used to a particular style when they are learning English. They probably have defined ideas on how to learn. For example, they could have like lots of grammar is the way they think that is correct on the learning process. But they probably didn't do, like, for example, speaking or writing activities Also, they may use translation, and it's very difficult to change their ideas in the fact on how they have to learn. Because with the new methods, there is a lot of changes, like they have to start with the speaking, as we know. And also, according to the students, they may vary. Like, for example, they can have a different motivation, and like the personality, they could be like shy and outgoing, or they could learn this way. And also, they could learn by different activities. But sometimes the students could be open to new ways of learning, but in their mind, they have set activities on the way they learn. And also, it is very important and is very influential the fact that how the maturity it would influence in the way they learn. It would be very strong the fact that we would have to adapt our activities to the fact that it would be like, for example, with children, we have to change all the time the activities, and also, like, for example, we have to have like interesting topics for the teenagers. We cannot have something boring, and that way they can have and they can welcome to the new methods that they are learning, because it is very abstract on the fact that the way they experience the learning of the language, and the fact on how they do on the learning process. They have to focus mostly on the meaning and mostly not on the form, on the fact that how they can put into action the learning and all the information and the input they had learned. Um, because each of the students have different characteristics. Like, for example, as I said before, it could be a student that is shy, or it could be a student that is outgoing. So we have to find activities where all are going to feel well while they do these activities. So we have to vary and match the language and match the styles that we are having for teaching them with the characteristics of the students and the age and the maturity of the students.
Before starting with the questions, we are going to practice some of the information you already learned. We're going to start with the first one. These learners are mainly kinesthetic. The options are A, the learners in groups tell a story based on a series of pictures they look at. B, the learners go around the class reading posters made by the other groups. Or C, the learners listen to a recording about an athlete and fill in a table. Please, Steph, can you help me with choosing an answer, the best answer?
Could be letter B. Letter B.
Okay, very good. It's letter B. The next one. These learners have a short attention span. The options are A, the learners spend the lesson doing lots of different choral drills. B, the learners spend the lesson reading an article on a computer about a favorite topic. Or C, the learners read a story, then discuss it, then draw pictures describing it. Please, Valeria, can you help me choosing the best answer to this question?
It could be letter C.
Okay, very good. Letter C. We're going to continue with the next one. Question 3. These learners have not yet developed their abstract thinking skills. The options are: the learners read a story, then underline all the verbs ending in ed. B, the learners watch a DVD about healthy eating, then discuss their opinions of it. Or C, the learners describe their house to another one. Please, Lisa, can you help me with the answer of this question?
The answer is B.
Why do you think it's B?
Because we have the word thinking skills, and to this cast they are developing critical thinking. So
Okay, very good. Here is B. Um, the fourth question is, these learners don't like taking risks. Option A, the learners write stories, practice reading first silently, then aloud, and then tell them to their parents. Option B, the learners look at the pictures of a story and then tell their partners their story. Or C, the learners each make up a story, then tell it to their partner. Um, please, Jessie, can you help me with the answer of this question? Number 4.
A.
Yeah, very good. It's A. Because they are taking risks, reading aloud. And the final question, we have 5. These learners are age 7 and 8. Option A, the learners explain the difference between guessing and deducing meaning. B, the learners give one another their homework for proofreading. Or C, the learners use pictures to talk about their favorite sport. Which do you think is the correct? Anyone? Mary, can you help me?
C. Letter C.
Yeah, very good. This is an appropriate activity for learners age 7 and 8. And that's it, thank you. Do you have any question about the presentation? Yes.
Please, Flavio, can you repeat again what is maturity and maybe give me an example, please?
Okay, maturity involves a process of developing mentally, physical, and emotional skills. So a good example, as we explained before, could be the difference between children, teenagers, and adults. So for children, we have different activities like more interactive, for example. For teenagers, we can have more attention for them or attention for a longer period of time, so we can develop any kind of different activities. And finally, for adults, we can get their own all day attention, so we can develop kind of not as much interactive activities, but we can plan something for them in order to achieve our goals, maybe.
Okay, thank you. Linda, can you give me a communicative activity that we can use in speaking skill?
Yeah, there are many communicative activities we can use on the speaking part. For example, we can do debates or we can do role plays. And also it would depend on the age of the students and what we wanted to achieve with this activity. Okay, thank you.